I'm just searching for equality, looking for some reason, no finding no apologies. But I do want opportunity, hard work, it ain't new to me.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Rach Da Gem back for another episode of Melanin Boulevard. This week we are joined with Melvin. Hey Melvin, Kaleidoscope.
What's going on?
Kaleidoscope homie, you've been on the Kaleidoscope a couple times, the radio show. But isn't this your first time to the Boulevard?
This the first time. I mean, I've been wanting to do it, so we got the right opportunity to do it right now. So we're about to get it going.
Good. I'm looking forward to it. So I saw that you had a post up and you were saying that you wanted to get some things off your chest. You had some things that you wanted to say. And so I thought this was a great opportunity to just open the floor up and just let you express how you feel, get your rant. We're going to call it Rant with Rach, which I'm, going to coin and go ahead and do this every week with someone. So thanks for the idea. I think maybe more people
That's what we do. That's what we do. We bounce things off each other. We make it work.
Powered and inspired by Melvin.
Yeah.
So let everybody know what you do and all of that.
What I do. Well, jack of all trades, honestly. We in the midst of with Kaleidoscope, I told you we launched a record label.
Mm-hmm.
And so me and my brother, that's pretty much what we're focusing on right now as far as getting, that really up and going. The song is in rotation in a bunch of radio stations right now. Doing actually well, which is kind of shocking that we didn't have like a lot of promotion behind it, which is really cool. The merch is coming. So, that's about it with that. As far as, just my rant and how everything came about with this was a friend of mine posted a video. Mm-hmm. And it's, the typical video we've been watching on social media with, Black men being wrongfully detained or arrested and just being victimized is the best way to put it. And it was something that he said, which triggered me. Mm-hmm. He said he was a martial artist and a choreographer. And for me, with my fiance, that's a large portion of her friends. That's my brother-in-law to be. And it kind of struck a nerve because at this point, I never thought about that. Like, I grew up in the hood. I'm from Southsyde, Jamaica, Queens. And when we from the hood and we walk around, we kind of expect the police to mess with us. We expect people to look at us a certain way. Mm-hmm. So it's just part of our growing up. When you talk about someone who's in the arts, that's not their thing. They don't have to experience that. And at least in my mind, I could be completely wrong. But it's gotten to the point where, it was, Trayvon Martin looked suspicious. He had a hoodie on. He looked aggressive. He's a kid. Mm-hmm. Or how is a hoodie make someone look aggressive? You see a 6'3" Black dude, he looks aggressive. He looks this. Or you see, how we talk, how we move is always perceived aggressive. And now you get someone who's actually doing something similar to yoga. And his neighbor called the cops on him.
Why?
And as she's speaking to the dispatch officer, like, all of this could have been avoided, but she didn't give the proper information. Like the dispatch worker was actually like, well, does this person seem to have mental illness? Are they intoxicated, inebriated, those types of things? And the lady said either. Instead of saying it's my neighbor, she made it seem as if it was just a random person. Mm-hmm. And then the cops come out, they detain him, they throw him on the ground, they do the typical thing that cops do to Black men. And in the midst of this, he's telling them, like, I live right there. My house is right there. Showed them the keys, everything. And in the midst, another neighbor walks up and says, officers, he does this every morning. And they just didn't listen. And that's my biggest issue when it comes to these situations. Cops don't listen. It's like they have their agenda and that's it. And until they accomplish that agenda, they continue moving forward. never listening to this man when he was saying, like, you're arresting me because I was dancing. Not that I was causing a disturbance. I wasn't kicking cars. I wasn't throwing rocks. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't running around here naked. I wasn't bothering other people. I was literally dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And now that's what it's come down to. And it's just, it's getting crazy now. Just getting absolutely ridiculous.
My question is, has it gotten worse, or are we hearing more about it? Is it being less acceptable?
It's both. I think it's both. I think we haven't heard a lot about it. And I think there are people now who feel empowered to do these things.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason.
Yeah. Emmett Till, right?
Mm-hmm.
We could just use him as an example. There's so many others of
Right.
Black people who were minding their business, not even doing anything, even if they did catcall, whistle, look. Does that mean that it's okay for them to be killed, murdered? No. And when you say that he was from the arts, they don't care. You know, if they will kill a kid in the street. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah, no, what I was saying was, it was just like, for me, it's like those growing up, like those are the kids that we always looked at, like, y'all don't know what it's like to be us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, a lot of them kind of escape that realism. Because what's stopping, because like I said, my fiance, like, she's a dancer.
Mm-hmm.
Her sister's a dancer. Her best friends, actresses, actors, dancers on Broadway. And with the pandemic going on, some of these places are shut down, they're closed. And so in order for them to, you know, keep their skills up and to, you know, rehearse and practice, maybe they go to a park.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they do these things. My brother-in-law is an accomplished martial artist. And let's say he doesn't have access to go to a gym or anything like that, and he just wants to go out, and because he does capoeira. What if he's doing that and there's a white lady walking past and she was just like, oh my God, like, what is he doing fighting the air right now? I think I feel threatened by that. And then they do something and they harm my brother-in-law, like, for doing absolutely nothing.
Right. You know, this is where the problem is what consequences are there for the people who are calling the police on Black people for no reason? What is her consequence for doing that?
Yep.
What should the consequence be?
It should be like, it's a federal offense to use 911 falsely.
Yeah.
So why aren't these people being brought up on federal charges for that?
That's a question that definitely needs to be asked. Even the lady that had the dog in Central Park, she's calling and she's saying all these things that are not true. There was a police officer out here in Las Vegas. He actually was in the city of Henderson, and he was outside talking to one of the workers that worked in the grocery store. They were having a conversation, 2 Black men. A woman called the police on him, saying that he had a gun and that they were arguing. And they sent a bunch of police officers out there. When the police showed up, they showed up like, hey, we know you, like, what's going on? You know, she called the police on a police officer. And completely lied. So what happens to her? They're not being held accountable for causing these problems, because at the end of the day, you know, tax dollars is what contributes to the salaries of the police department. And now they're causing people to waste their time and come out for things that are absolutely not true. On top of that, and now you're endangering people's lives, because at that point, that's a threat. That is an assassin. That's an assassination. That's a free hitman, in my opinion, because it's a 50-50 chance that whoever that police officer is that shows up, it could go wrong.
Exactly. And that's the scary part. And Chris Rock had brought something up here in one of his comedy specials, where he said, you know, there are certain professions where you're not allowed to have a bad day. And right now, everything that we're seeing is cops acting as if they had a bad day. Like, you can't go into a situation as a cop with one objective. You have to literally go into it with multiple things running in your head. Like if it's a routine traffic stop, it should just be that. It's a routine traffic stop. Now, as you approach the vehicle, if the person's hands are out the window, you are no longer you have no threat right now.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is they pull up to the car with guns drawn. And you just escalated that whole situation by that one action. Now, everything after that gets dictated by how the person handles it, and that's wrong. Because now, if I'm in a car and you pull up with a gun drawn and I react, one, because I'm fearful for my life, two, I don't depend on who's in the car. I have to protect. If my daughter's in the passenger seat, my wife is in the passenger seat, or both, my job is to protect them at all costs.
Mm-hmm.
But the cop is, he doesn't care at that point. He'll blow everybody away. And these cops are just reckless. And it could have been he had a traffic stop an hour before and that person was a complete jerk. So now in his mind, I'm going to go like the next person that I deal with, I'm going to be a jerk to them.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do nothing to you. And that's what's been going on. And it's more, it's way deeper than just having a bad moment prior to pulling a black person over. But doctors, if a doctor loses 2 patients in a year, they take his license.
Wow.
If a pilot if he comes to work drunk, his flight privileges get taken away. How are there police officers with 13 citations of aggression or shooting an unarmed person, in some cases killing those people, and still allowed to have their badges?
Let's talk
You
about
can't
it.
show up to McDonald's. You can't show up to McDonald's 3 times late. You do that, you get fired.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you allowed to continuously have these infractions on your record as a police officer and keep your job? And that's what gives them the ability, like in the George Floyd situation, where this guy is literally kneeling down with his hands in his pocket because there's no fear in him. I'm not going to lose my job for this.
Mm-hmm.
I've done this numerous times. Why would this one time be any different than the other 13 that I did this to?
What's interesting to me is that multiple cops have done this. So it leads me to believe this is taught in training at some point. I just don't believe that anybody is just going to kneel on someone's neck. On their neck?
Okay. Now, this is the other part of the coin. Because I get into these conversations as well, because I have family members and very, very close family members. Mm-hmm. Actually, one out here in Vegas right now. My cousin was a detective out here for 35 years. And he was in the Marines. And we talked about this because I asked him, I said, bro, like, honestly, man, like, what is that? And he said it best. He was like, everything that officer did was completely wrong. It's the absolute opposite of what they teach in the academy. Mm. They never tell you to put your knee in the back of someone's head when detaining them. And you are not allowed to put someone face down on the ground while handcuffed. Because he explained why every single person who gets handcuffed and they're in that position, why they say they can't breathe to me. And when he said it to me, it makes absolute sense. Your lungs have to expand. So when your arms are behind you and they're handcuffed, you're not allowing your lungs to expand. Mm-hmm. Now, when you are pushed down on the ground, you can't breathe.
Yeah.
And what happens is they tell you whenever you get someone in those situations, after you handcuff them, you turn them on their side or you have them sit up.
Yep.
You give them their lungs, the range to breathe. Mm-hmm. Anyone who's doing that knows exactly what they're doing. When they keep that person on the chest and they then apply their knee to the back of their head, they know exactly what they're doing.
Do you remember, like, I want to say like in the 90s when Cops was popping the show and they would hog tie people that means, they're handcuffed behind their back and then they pull their
And
legs
they would
to their
zip tie their
feet.
legs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that restricts breathing as well. And they made it to where that was no longer allowed because people die.
Right.
So, that was something that was allowed, but now these people are just doing what they want with people's bodies with no care.
Yep. And it's because it's things like that. Like the reason they put body cams on these cops is to avoid he said, she said stuff. It's to avoid, well, that's not what I did. Well,
Mm-hmm.
no, we can see what you did. That's you got the body cam on. I actually had an officer tell me. He said, if you get approached by an officer and you don't see his red light on his body cam, demand that he turn it on. And if he does not turn it on, you then call 911 and you get another officer out here on that officer who does not have their body cam on.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's against the law for that cop to not have their body cam on.
Yeah.
And if we're having all of these situations are they're being videoed. They're gunning down innocent Black people and they're not being held accountable. That's the biggest problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I can't go to my regular job. If I come to work an hour late, I get points. Those points accumulate. When I get to a certain amount, I lose my job.
Mm-hmm.
I get a final warning at some point. I get a coaching at another point, and then I lose my job. How are these cops with 13, 22? Well, they've been on the force for 20 years, and you got 32 citations?
That's more than one a year.
That's like, yeah, you can't do your job, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to take your badge. But that's not what's happening because there's no consequences. They're allowed to act and do as they want without any consequence. If the I'm gonna say, let's take it all the way back to Rodney King. If those officers literally lost their jobs immediately after, the investigation, trial, and all that stuff, other cops then look at that. Well, I can't do that. There's gonna be one or two that's gonna try it. But if we continue to, all right, well, you did that, so you lose your job. You shot him. He was unarmed. There was no reason for it. You lose your job.
Mm-hmm. I think it should be automatic jail time. Automatic.
Well, that's what I mean. Well, you should be treated as a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
You should be brought up on either attempted murder or murder charges, depending on what happened.
Right. Yes, lose your job because in the meantime, they should not be able to sit at home and still get paid. Pensions gone.
That's ridiculous.
Benefits gone.
And I believe I was actually talking about that specific thing with the George Floyd situation. I was like, I know it doesn't bring George Floyd back and it does not help the situation, but that man's pension should go to his wife.
Period.
Like,
take it away.
She now has to raise. Yeah, she has to because the money doesn't bring her husband back. It doesn't bring his daughter's father back. But that pension, like, you stopped his earning potential.
Mm-hmm.
He can no longer provide for his kids. So now that's another family that has to be put on the system. No, I don't believe that. Because your family gets your pension when you're done. I think your family needs to suffer the way this family suffers.
Definitely.
Not in the same way, but they need to suffer.
Definitely. What do you think about insurance policies on the police officers, whether the police officers have to carry insurance, like a stylist? They have insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's have these police officers pay into an insurance policy that they have a premium on, in order to be a part of that police department. They have to make sure their license is paid up. If they have infractions, or even if, it could be minor things, like when you have a fender bender and if you have to report that to the insurance company, your premium is going to go up.
Yep. Awesome. That's another thing. My brother works EMS in New York, so he drives the ambulances and stuff. And my brother told me something that I never knew. He said if a ambulance or a police car flip their lights, they have to be going somewhere. Like, they have to have a call. So if they flip their lights, you know how you always see it, a cop will be like 4 or 5 cars back. They'll flip the light just to go through the light, and then they turn it off. That's actually illegal.
Wow.
They're not allowed to do that. And I also believe that I don't think cops should carry live rounds. I think they should all have rubber bullets of some sort. Because why do you need live rounds on a routine traffic stop? Why do you need live rounds on a domestic violence case? Like, if you're going to a place where it requires you to have live rounds, that's one thing. But how many of those phone calls are they getting on a day-to-day basis?
So what would be an example of somewhere they would need to go where they would have live rounds?
When somebody else is shooting.
But it is...
If nobody else is shooting.
I'm not, I think they definitely need to protect themselves. I'm not against the rubber bullet idea because they're definitely going to stop somebody.
You're gonna stop somebody real cold with a rubber bullet. Trust me. Like, if anybody has ever gone paintballing, get shot by a paintball. Those things hurt. But so imagine that times 3 with a rubber bullet.
I've seen the bruises, haven't experienced it, but but like domestic violence calls can turn lethal.
They can turn. But how many of those domestic violence calls is where the other person has a gun? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't believe they have a gun. Like, there'll be like blunt objects. There might be a baseball bat, maybe a knife. There might be some of those things. This is just me. I'm not a cop. I don't know what they encounter on a day-to-day basis. But I'm just thinking, even if a guy has a knife and you shoot him in his chest or his arm or his leg with a rubber bullet, the dude is going to drop it instantly. So I think there are other ways to get a hold of a situation opposed to, because if you shoot someone, there's no coming back from that. You can't say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry does not bring a dead person back.
I was going to say the rubber bullets part would help eliminate the murder, right? But it doesn't fix the fact that there's still going to be police brutality going on. It's not going to change the fact that they don't know how to conflict resolution. They're not taught that. They don't know psychology. They don't know how to approach certain situations in a manner where they can be of help.
Because another issue that I had was this one. A lawyer has to go to school for 8 years to learn law and practice law. A police officer goes to the academy for 4 to 6 months to enforce it.
Not knowing
that's absolutely retarded. That's absolutely retarded to me. Because if a lawyer has to go for 8 years and you have to know pretty much the exact same things that lawyer knows, but you have to know it on a snap decision on the street. Why are you only going to the academy for 6 months? At best. Most of them are only 3 months.
Wow.
Like, that needs to change. Because for whatever reason, when I was younger, I remember cops being like older men. You look at cops now, they're 22, 23 years old.
True.
They're kids. You're asking an emotional 22, 23-year-old to deal with a situation that he's never dealt with in his own life. Like, he doesn't know how to fix an argument with his brother. How do you expect him to go into a situation where he can feel threatened because it's 2 men arguing? Like, if he doesn't know how to de-escalate a situation, his first inkling to de-escalate that situation is, I'm gonna pull my weapon.
Which actually does the opposite.
Which does the entire opposite.
Yeah.
So, like, that's why, like, the whole entire police system needs to be rebuilt. Like, it needs to be rebuilt. Are there good cops? Yes. But the problem is, those good cops aren't enough to justify the entire system. Because lieutenants can be bad. You can have a bunch of beat cops that are amazing. I know a bunch of cops. Like I was in a motorcycle club, you know what I'm saying? And I would say 30 out of the 36 members, 12 were cops between detectives, state troopers, patrolmen.
Mm-hmm.
All of them were black. Now, and then there's that part I want to, I know I'm going all over the place, but you said it was a rant, so I'm ranting.
Mm-hmm.
So we as black people say we need more representation. We want to stop, the police brutality and stuff like that. Now, a way we can do that is if we have more black cops. But the problem on the other side of that is that we're making that profession look very bad right now. So any young kid growing up, they're not going to think, well, let me change some things. If I can change some things, if I become a police officer, they're looking at it like I would never be a police officer. So what happens is now you just open the gates for more of the people that we don't want in those positions to get more positions.
It's true. And I can see where people would feel like being a police officer is not the way to go, especially with what's going on in society right now. For me, what I look at is what's the history behind the police department?
Right.
Where did it start? What was it for? And has it changed much? Not really.
No, it hasn't.
And yes, we have people who look like us in that system, yes. But at the end of the day, it was built with a certain goal in mind, and it's continued to reach that goal of imprisoning Black people, no matter what, hunting down Black people or whoever they feel they need to hunt down. So I think going back to the origination and shutting that all down, that's the problem, because it's deeply rooted in in the department, whether we have Black police officers. What I think about is, what do Black police officers have to dealing with these racist white people, or these racist, people that are of other races, or these people who, have certain...
They deal with the same thing that me and you would deal with at our job. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard. It's hard because, like, in those situations, they're still the minority.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So their voices don't get heard as loudly as the majority. I also, I was talking to another friend of mine who was like, when somebody was like, well, why don't they just put some of the good cops with the bad cops? And I was like, you can't do that, because what happens is, because what happens is the bad cop is going to complain about the good cop until he gets a cop that's just like him. Like, that's how that works. It's not as easy as, well, we're going to put him with him and that should offset it. Not how that works.
If we can identify the bad cops, they should be gone, period.
They should, and at this point, they should just shut it down, start from ground zero.
Mm-hmm.
Really, and honestly do what they're supposed to do. Like, in order to be a cop, they do a psych evaluation. How did any of these dudes pass a psych evaluation knowing and seeing what they have been doing?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, if a person is racist, there are questions you can ask to find that out very quickly. You know what I mean? So what questions and what is being done during these psych evaluations to identify these people? And are the right people giving the psych evaluations? Because if those people are just as bad as those people are, like the people that we're complaining about, then that's why the system doesn't get fixed. They're looking for people like them to put in those places.
Yeah.
You
There's a documentary, I want to say it was on Hulu or Netflix, and it was about some police officers that were from New York, and they were basically, the guy was kind of not coerced, but if he didn't do it, they really didn't, he wouldn't have protection, they wouldn't have his back, things like that. And so
if he put in a phone call, no one was going to come back him up. Like, and those are the things. And when people say, well, why didn't this cop help out this cop, or why didn't he stop this cop from doing this? I was like, just think about it. That's how that man feeds his family. And as bad as it sounds, he chose his family. Because if he loses that job, at that point, I'm not saying right now because we have a lot of examples of police chiefs and people who work in the police department that are actually stepping up now, and they're like, "Look, I saw this. This is what happened," and they're giving statements on every account of thing that's going on. Like I saw a thing on, I think it was CNN, where he was actually a Hispanic police chief. I think that's what he was in New York, and he was blowing up everything, like all the corrupt stuff that was going on. Because he's like, I've had enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think there's a lot of people in those positions that are really fed up. Like they put up with a lot of stuff. Because that stuff starts to eat at your own fabric at some point. Like turning your back on situations, at some point, it eats away. It eats at you slowly.
Mm-hmm.
It eats away. And I think some of these cops that turn their backs on some situations, didn't say something about this thing, witnessed a bunch of racism or racist acts and never said anything. But those people, unfortunately, in my book, you're just as bad.
That was going to be my question is, why do we have to force you to now do what's right, to speak up? Because right now, everything's blown up. Everything is blown up right now. So why did it take now, just like when we talk about if people support Black lives, that literally should not even be a statement, in my opinion, because it's kind of like, duh.
And anybody in this climate now, anybody that I see hold up the All Lives Matter thing, I want to punch them in their face. I'm like, because you're retarded. Like in the beginning, when the whole Black Lives Matter started, and All Lives Matter, okay, whatever. But we've explained it enough that we're telling you, we're not saying only Black Lives Matter or Black lives are more important. We're just letting everybody know, like the same way your life matters, so does ours. Mm-hmm. Because you're allowed certain privileges just based off your skin that we don't have. I've watched white people curse cops out, curse them out from the top of their head to the bottom of their feet. Nothing. Mm-hmm. I watched a 16-year-old kid ask why you're pulling me over, and he got punched in the face.
Wow.
That's ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
So those are the things that need to change. That's why we say Black Lives Matter. Mm-hmm. Is because we're not afforded the same respect as everyone else. We have to do everything times 3 just to succeed.
Mm-hmm. And what's
that's not fair.
What's irritating is that they try to justify it with whatever their lifestyle was. They're going to try to find any dirt to figure out why that person would have been justified to murder somebody. At the end of the day, police officers are not the prosecutor.
That's not your job.
You don't have the right to make the decision to kill anybody at all.
You're not the judge, jury, and executioner. That's not your role.
And it's not the same across the board. There was this guy, he had like an AK-47. Police officers were sitting there wrestling with him, like, white man.
Yeah. Now let that be a black dude. There would be no wrestling.
It would be snipers on the roof. It's a wrap.
Yep. And it's bad. Like, like every black family, when you're a male and when you have a young boy, the females not as much, but you still have the same talk. But you let them know, like, look, when you walking around in these streets, you got to watch yourself. White parents don't have those talks with their kids. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't have to walk and see a police car and straighten up and make sure that everything that they're doing is on point. Like, even if we're doing everything to the T, and we're not doing anything at all. If we see a cop car coming, we feel like we did something wrong. Mm-hmm. Like we start thinking, like, did I cross the street? Did I jaywalk? I'm not wearing no hoodie. I'm not doing this. Like, I should be good. And that's bad that we have that's ingrained in us.
Yeah. It's something that they, some people are oblivious to because they have not experienced it. They don't have to deal with that everyday, that everyday
So,
life. Even, I have all girls, but I still tell my oldest daughter, like, you can't do what everybody do. What all them kid,
mhm.
white kids at your school do, and that's not that don't fly because I can't deal with anything happening to you or you being punished more just because you're a black kid. Like,
Just because you're black, and
yeah.
it's as simple as that. It's just because you're black.
Hmm.
Like, even I was just having a conversation with Samaya just the other day, and I was telling her, I was like, I got pulled over one time for driving on a suspended license because I never remember getting a ticket. It was a speeding ticket that they said I had gotten, and it went over time. So they put a warrant and they, suspended my license. I didn't know, so I gotten pulled over, and they took me to jail.
For a suspended license.
And for a suspended license, I had to sit in front of the judge and talk to the judge. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, I'll just pay the fine and the ticket, and I'll get out of here. They told me they was going to give me a year in jail.
What?
I said, for a suspended license. They was like, yeah, because, to be riding around here. I said, sir, I didn't even know it was suspended. I said, at the time I was working at a car dealership. Like, it is my job. Like, I can lose my job if my driver's license isn't intact. Like, I have a dealer's license, I have to keep intact. I have my driver's license, I got to keep intact. So for me to worry about my driver's license is very important to me. So I was like, honestly, I didn't even know. I was like, I don't even remember getting the speeding ticket.
Mm-hmm.
So they was like, well, I don't know what to tell you, Mr. Jackson. Well, this is what it is. And I'm just like, no, like, we're not doing that. Like, there's no way I'm doing that. And it took my dad, because my dad works for a law firm in New York. And I was just like, yo, this is what they're trying to do. So he had to send down 2 lawyers to Maryland to get me out of this whole going to jail for a whole year. They knocked it down to 30 days, and they were like, well, if you can, with good behavior, we can let you out in 12. I was like, on a suspended license? They was like, that's the best we can offer.
No.
And I was just like, yo, wow. So I had to do the 12 days. I actually it was only 10. But, my job was cool. And they were just like, look, you have vacation time anyway, so just use that. I'm not going to say nothing. You don't say nothing. Everybody's going to assume you're on vacation. Like, whatever. But that's the difference. And then literally, I watched, while I was in the courtroom, I watched a guy with 2 DUIs. 2. White dude. 2 DUIs. He got nothing. When I say nothing, all he had to do was pay his ticket. And I think he did community service.
Mm-mm. Yeah, that's not okay. And that's another problem with the whole police system and the court system is the excessive, going overboard with the sentencing and
Mhm.
the consequences behind certain things. You should have never had to do any jail time over that.
Over suspended license.
And honestly, you know, they could have ticketed you and all you had to do was make an arrangement to pay it.
And the thing, I was in the courtroom. I was like, look, I can pay it right now. Like, if the money's not the issue, I just didn't know about it.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't want to hear that. They was not trying to hear me.
Wow. See, that's a problem. That is definitely a problem. How do we fix that?
That, like I said, I think even the judicial, I can't even say it. Judiciary system, there we go, needs to be changed. Like, the judges, like, when you get a judge that's like 65, 75 years old, that dude lived through everything.
Civil rights
He
movement, all
he
of that.
lived through, segregation and all of that. Like, he was there for that. And I'm asking him to be lenient on me. That's a no, because he's not going to do it.
Yeah.
So a lot of those things need to be adjusted. Like, a lot of, even, I also feel the Constitution needs to be done. Like, it needs to be burned and start over.
Because there's laws that were written 200 years ago,
Yeah,
300
you're
years
talking
ago,
about,
that are still in place.
yeah,
Like,
you did that in 1776, I believe. That's ridiculous. It is 2020.
mhm.
That's like literally me saying, yo, I got all this information stored on this floppy disk.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with that?
We ain't got nowhere to put that.
Like, you were
Nowhere.
talking about something from 1980.
It's
You can't,
obsolete.
it is super obsolete. It makes no sense right now.
Mhm.
So, with everything, if technology changes, if people evolve, so should these laws. You're talking, those ideals from 1776 do not apply in 2020.
Right.
So they need to be redone.
Mhm.
We were still slaves when they made this. So how does that even work?
It works for them, and that's the problem.
And that's the biggest problem right there. We were never included in that.
No. It was just another tool used to create ways to get the things that they want. Free labor,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
imprisonment. They have quotas. I mean, they make money off these prisons. They make money off of
Big money.
every inmate
Big
that
money.
they put. The judges make money off of, their prosecution, or whatever you call it. How many people they put in jail. They make money
Yep.
off of this. So let's take that away. Take it away.
Yep.
You know,
I believe so.
all of that's a problem.
It's all a problem, and it's all part of the bigger picture that need, because we can go out, we can protest, we can march, we can do all these things, but until this system gets revamped, we're doing nothing.
Hmm.
We need the system to change.
Yep. And
And
I think
mhm,
that it's kind of like enough of the like bullshit motive. It's like when your man cheat on you and he keeps cheating on you and he keeps showing up with them same sass flowers. Like, okay,
like, now what?
yeah, like what we gonna do? Like
Yeah,
I don't want to see Black Lives Matters in the street, because it doesn't, for me, I don't care, because it should always be that's just relevant. That's
that's
irrelevant.
at this
We
point we're
know.
like, we know, like,
No,
yes,
they know our Black lives matter, because our Black dollars matter and our Black
exactly.
bodies matter, and they need that. So this is
And
something we already know.
mhm. And we need to, like, I've been saying this for a long time. Like, I'm glad to see one of the kids, he's like one of the top basketball recruits in the country. I think he was going to go to UCLA or something like that, and he decommitted to go to Howard.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been saying this for a long time. We aren't going to get change until we make them change. Like, we have, like you said, all of the purchase power. We drive entertainment. Without us, things really don't move.
Yeah, rice with no
So,
butter.
right. So if we take the top college athletes, which are mostly black, let's take Alabama for an instance. Alabama football is one of the biggest money makers in American sports.
Mm-hmm.
Most of those kids are black.
Yeah.
Now, we take those same kids from Alabama and we send them to Alabama State, which is a black school. Guess where all the endorsement money, all of the TV money, all of that has to go to that black school.
Mm-hmm.
If we take all the kids that go to the Florida States and the Miamis, and they go to Florida A&M or Bethune-Cookman, all of that money follows them. Why can't they go to Grambling? Why can't they go to Hampton? Why can't they go to Virginia State? You can go there. It's just that they put it out there that, Virginia's a better school and Duke is a better institution. And like, no, these other schools are just as good. They just don't get the backing and the funding because we're sending our best asset, which is us, ourselves, our bodies, to these other schools.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we hit them where it hurt, because they love this, talk about March Madness and, look at Duke, North Carolina, look at Michigan State. Now, if we flip that on its head and it's North Carolina A&T, and it's Bethune-Cookman. It's Florida A&M. We get to see what the Black experience is. You know what I mean? We don't see marching bands on TV unless you used to go to BET and you watch it when they had those games on there.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't get represented fully. They love to exploit, but they don't represent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to start building our own ecosystem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because it all helps itself out. Like, they talk about, well, there's not enough Black head coaches in professional sports because all the Black coaches are at the Black colleges for the most part. Because every time Nick Saban gets mentioned for a head coaching job, why is it? Because he's producing the best players in the country. But if those Black players were being coached by Black coaches, guess who now gets the opportunity to coach at the next level?
Yeah.
That Black coach.
Yeah. And if it's endorsements and sponsorships that they're looking for, I'm sure there's a bunch of Black businesses. If the standard white American businesses don't want to sponsor and put into these schools, it's a bunch of businesses that are out there that are willing to do so. But I just think that it's a plan to, what's the word? Just kind of make those schools that are bigger now just more shiny, the UCLA's, versus the Grambling. Because when you think of Grambling, you don't think of their football team.
Not no more. And the thing is, we used to. We used to. It was a time where, we had, they used to tell you, oh, well, you can't make it to the league if you go to a Black college. I'm like, well, the first Black quarterback to win a Super Bowl went to Grambling. That was Doug Williams. You know what I'm saying? Jerry Rice went to Mississippi Valley State. It's one of the best players to ever play in the game. Jim Brown, all of these players, they went to historically Black colleges. You can do it. They'll find you. Steve McNair went to Alcorn State. You can do it. If you're good, they'll find you.
Mm-hmm. They sure will.
So it's not a thing of, well, I can't do it. No, you can. It's just that you're used to seeing these other schools on television.
Changing there.
But I guarantee you, if all of y'all was in Howard, guess where Howard's gonna be?
On ESPN.
TV.
Yep. Right on ESPN.
If all y'all go to Grambling, guess where you gonna be? Right on ESPN. You know where Nike gonna send their money? Down to Grambling. Mm-hmm. You know where Adidas gonna go? Florida A&T. Like, everything that's going on with these bigger schools can happen to the Black colleges. Yeah. We just gotta force their hand.
Yeah.
And I think we can do it. And it's not, is it going to be hard? Yes, because a lot of these kids grew up, I want to go to Michigan. I want to go to Ohio State. You never hear them say, I want to go to Hampton. I want to go to Grambling. Florida A&T, the spot for me. I always want to go there. That's not what's happening. So until we can start believing in ourselves with these Black colleges and Black businesses, you know what I mean? Like, I just was talking to my brother today, and it was just like, I'm not wearing, and I've been doing this for a long time, where I don't wear I'm not going to say designer, because even the Black businesses I support, they're designer clothes. They're just not as popular as the other ones, but we can make it that.
Easy. Put it in a music video.
You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to, what kind of t-shirt, am I going to get the polo t-shirt or my friends at Layup? Oh, no, I'm going to lay up and get that t-shirt. You know what I'm saying? I have another friend. He got his t-shirts out in New York. I call him like, yo, I need a hoodie. I need this, I need that. Even if it's one or two, that's one or two t-shirts that when I walk around, I'm supporting my brother. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We got the dance studio, and somebody asked me, it's like, well, why don't you put the dance studio in another place? And I was like, because where our target is little brown girl and boys. There are a lot of dance studios that don't cater to them. Mm-hmm. They don't get the same light that they should. They can be just as talented, but they're going to get overlooked because they're brown. Mm-hmm. So our goal is to shed light on these little brown kids because they're just as talented, if not even double the talent as these other kids.
And to be honest, a lot of the stuff that these brown and Black kids are doing, the white kids just taking. And
they're just using it.
yeah, you know, we can use TikTok as an example.
Yep.
TikTok, all the little white kids doing all the dances and all of that stuff, getting all the likes. These little brown and black kids starting this stuff, doing this stuff, they not getting the likes.
Yep. It's like we're good enough to emulate, but we're not good enough to embrace.
Mm-hmm.
And that's crazy to me because you root for a Patrick Mahomes, you'll root for Lamar Jackson on Sunday, you'll root for LeBron James, but you won't protect him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's crazy to me. You look at them totally different on Sunday than you do on Monday.
Yeah.
And that's the shift that needs to change. Like, you can love me when I'm on your favorite team. Oh my God, like he's amazing. He's this, he's that. But then come just a regular Tuesday, I'm just another nigga to you.
And to be honest, I could care less, you know what I'm saying, how they look, because I feel like we can support ourselves. If
Yeah,
our dollar...
it's what I'm saying is it's like it's how they can separate
Mm-hmm.
the two. Like it's two different people.
It's entertainment versus reality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, entertainment, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is where a lot of people need to understand the difference and be okay with that. But my thing is you don't necessarily have to accept me on Monday, but don't get in my way of what I'm trying to do on Monday. That's the problem. When
Right.
LeBron James was like, "Hey, let's start our own league," they got in his way versus letting that man do what he wanted to do. Because at that point, then he levels up from an entertainer to a threat.
Well, but that's the problem. See, we're always a threat.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because we have to work that much harder at everything that we do. And then what that does is anybody standing next to us, it sheds light on what they're not doing. You know, and so if we did start, and let's say, I mean, because the NBA, let's keep it 100, started off all white.
Mm-hmm.
It was never meant for us. You know what I'm saying? So that NBA was not entertaining. It was not good. It was pretty bad. And then you added the black people. And then it changed. Same thing with Major League Baseball. Same thing with the NFL. And look at golf. Tiger Woods changed the entire scope of golf.
Yeah.
And that's just us as people. Like, we take something and we morph it. Like Instagram. Instagram wasn't what it is now when it in its infancy stages. We got a hold of it and was like, no, we can do way more with this.
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, all of these apps. Like, why the fact that now this could be a whole nother rant with social media.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we have Black Planet no more?
It didn't evolve. In my opinion, it didn't evolve. And MySpace came and kind of counteracted that. Now, if Black Planet would have maybe taken into consideration what MySpace was doing, evolved it a little bit more. Because remember when MySpace first dropped, or no, Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
When it
was Facebook that just destroyed Black Planet.
No. MySpace came in because MySpace and Black Planet were around the same time. But then Facebook came in, and Facebook was like for college students, and it was whack, right? So when Facebook leveled up their business, that's when more people started going to Facebook. That's what shut down MySpace. MySpace shut down Black Planet, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And then Facebook just took out Black Planet completely.
Everybody,
yeah. So I think that it just didn't evolve, because even now, like when Black Planet started popping again because of Solange, it's not up to par. Like, what can we do to make that better? Because I would be all on it. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, because we fight, you know, we do this thing where we're just like, well, we need more for us. Let's do our own. I was like, we want to do that in theory, but are we going to support it? It's the same thing with the Black businesses. Like, dude, go support your local Black business. It works. Like, Stop. The biggest problem I have with us as Black people is that we place our value on the value of things that we have.
Mm-hmm.
The more things cost, the better we feel about ourselves. And that shouldn't be the case. I'll go back when Jay-Z signed his his Reebok deal, and he had the S dots. And a friend of mine was like, "Man, I'm not getting those, man. Those are just like the Gucci lows, man. They just knockoffs. They Reeboks, bro, and they $70.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna go spend $300 on the Gucci ones when Jay got these over at Reebok for 70, but you're not gonna get those because they're $70. That's crazy. FUBU didn't last.
I definitely fucked with FUBU. I loved FUBU. Not gonna
I
lie.
loved it, man. Like all of our, Fat Farm and
Yep.
and
Nietzsche.
Nietzsche and
Yep.
Iceberg, like all of these, we had it, man. Like we had it.
Beat or not beat, but what's the one? Russell Simmons' wife, his ex-wife, Baby Fat.
Baby Fat.
Baby Fat was popping,
We had it. Like we just, for whatever reason, like we own it for a second and then we let it go. The apple bottom jeans, all of that. Like we had it. Like
I just feel that you have to evolve with the times. You got to be okay to evolve with the times and level up. Understand that there are multiple levels when it comes to Black people, and if you're going to do a line, try to target a little bit for all Black people. I think it was just a lot of jeans and t-shirt brands, and so at some point, sometimes we need a little bit more. Now you're seeing more Black women into like wedding dresses. You're starting to see these things because we need these.
Yeah, but that's why I wouldn't ask FUBU to make me a suit.
But they were.
It's supposed to give me the jeans and the t-shirts, and there should be another company that does that. Well, if FUBU did it, then that's cool. The same thing like with Russell Simmons. Like Russell Simmons, he had the sweater vest, he had the casual clothes, he had the street clothes, but it's still like we didn't gravitate, because well, I want a Gucci belt. I'm like, well, dude, stop supporting Gucci. Like, no, like just. Let's go over here and get these.
Do you think maybe because it was a little bit more trendy versus items that were timeless?
Only reason why I say no, I don't think it was trend. Like everything's trendy, and like that's like saying Timberlands. Are Timberlands trendy or timeless?
Timberlands are purposeful. They have a purpose, and they've always, we made them a trend. That's what it is. We made them a trend, but Timberland has always been around because they provided a certain, I guess, not so much a service, but a purpose for the weather, right? But we made them trendy. That's what we
right. And they're timeless because we make it that. Air Force Ones are probably like the plainest sneaker on the planet.
Timeless.
But they're timeless and they're trendy because we make them that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I always go back to the power that we have. We'll go back to Jay-Z. And when Jay-Z in what song was that? Change Clothes, I think it was. No, not Change Clothes. I forgot the name of the damn song now, but he was like, forget when jerseys, I'm 30 plus. Give me a fresh pair of jeans and a button up. Dude stopped. Mitchell and Ness was probably one of the biggest, jersey outfitters and stuff like that in the country. They was giving you throwback jerseys and all of that, making millions upon millions of dollars every year. Jay-Z shut that down with one line.
I have another example of how we make shit go. I'm going to say one word. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Champion.
Oh, I just had a conversation about that. I was like, how is it? I used to get Champion hoodies for like $5. They're $50 now.
Right.
That's crazy to me.
I tell this to my daughter all the time because she's always wanting to buy some Champion stuff. And I'm like, look, these, I get them because, kids.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, do you know I was getting these at Walmart? People
Yep.
was getting made fun of
You
at
get.
some point for
They
wearing a
used
bunch
to
of Champion
laugh
stuff.
at you if you popped up with a Champion hoodie. And now they popping. That's
They
crazy.
are popping, okay? I was like, this used to be trash. This used
Right.
to be like play clothes.
Mm-hmm. Like you going outside, put that Champion hoodie on.
Right. You better put your play clothes on, Walmart style, $5, $10. Yeah. Now, but that is the power of our influence.
Mm-hmm. And I think if we use that with our own businesses, we can change a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We can begin to build our own wealth.
Yeah. Understand your power. Understand it. Because we have some incredible businesses out there.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. Why don't we have more? Why don't we have like a Walmart that is owned by a Black person? Why don't we have more, more of these types of things that are normal? Because, this is a conversation that I was having with someone when it comes to like Black businesses. I know we kind of went off a little bit, but let me just say this.
It's a rant. That's what we're doing.
When you're driving down the street, and you're like, you know what, I need a drink. Let me go ahead and stop in the area and grab me a drink. Is that business going to be Black? What's the likelihood of that gas station, that corner?
Slim to none.
I'm hungry. You know what? Let me grab a sandwich. And you're in the area. This is just you being in the area. What's the likelihood of that? That place being Black. There's a lot of Black restaurants here in Las Vegas, right? Sometimes you might not even be in the area of one. You have to kind of sometimes go out of your way if you want something specific. There should be more options of regular things that are owned by Black people that we need every day. The clothes. If I need something to wear real quick, it's kind of hard to go online and search, you know what I mean? And
right.
You have to 8 times out of 10 order online. When H&M pulled their shit.
Oh, we should have. Oh my God. When I tell you, that's another conversation I had. I was like, when H&M did what they did, we should have literally canceled them because they love canceling people. Like this whole cancel culture, they love to cancel stuff. Why didn't we cancel H&M?
I did. I haven't shopped at H&M since,
I mean, I haven't shopped in H&M in years, but I didn't need to do it. But I'm just like, come on now. Like same thing with when they did this whole, well, we're gonna boycott, Gucci for 30 days.
That was a joke. It should.
I was like, 30 days, bro? Like, no.
T.I. is a joke to me, and that's just my opinion.
He's a clown. We can have a whole nother segment on him. He's a whole clown. Like, he's stupid. Because my thing is this. Because I'm a business owner, you're a business owner. The number one rule in business is you are loyal to what's loyal to you, and that's your business. He has his own clothing company. Why in the right mind would you support Gucci at any point?
Is it Kenzo or something? What's the name of his?
It's called a coup or something like that.
I don't ever see when I see him. Yeah,
he never wears it
because if I'm not wearing my stuff, like I'm gonna market my stuff. People around me gonna market my stuff. My kids let me have a clothing line. My kids are gonna be rocking the Melvin and Boulevard t-shirts. Best believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but that's what you're supposed to do. Like that's why when we started this, I said the merch is coming. Like for the Alpha Male music, like we are like people identify with you with what you identify with. So if every time that I see you got a Melanin Boulevard t-shirt on, guess the first thing that popped in my mind? Mm-hmm. Oh man, let me see what podcast she's doing today. What is she doing? Let me go listen to it. Because that's you. Mm-hmm. That's part of who you are. So if you have a business and you are not even supporting it, how do you expect someone else to support it?
That's facts. That's facts. Yeah. Yeah, well, this was a great rant.
Oh, I'm good at rants. This is what I do. I rant all day, every day.
You're at that age, you know.
Yeah, it's just everything's a rant. Who ain't take the garbage out?
Look at the cat drinking
Yeah.
the milk out
Yeah.
the bowl.
As you say that, the dog is on the daggone bed. Get your ass off the bed. Like, it's just everything.
So I definitely appreciate this. This will be something that I feel is kind of needed. Just talk about whatever, you guys, if you want. And if you have a rant, you can always hit me up. It'll be on live next time. So I'm just going to start doing these live on Instagram.
That'd be dope. That's what I thought you was gonna do. Cause I was like, cause I went to the live and I was like, well, no, she's not on there. That's why I was like, let me just hit her up and see what's going on.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop dropping it as a podcast, but after this, I'm going to do probably like 30-minute lives on Instagram every whatever day. My time is 8:00. I'll just do it later in the evening. Get some things off your chest, whatever it could be: relationships, society, food. Yeah, daddy ain't acting right. I don't know. Whatever you want to talk about, come on.
It's a rant. That's what it's for.
Come on, Melvin Boulevard, get it off your chest. I am your counselor. No, I'm just playing. But I'm an ear and, give input and get some feedback from the people too. But you'll definitely have to come on the 30-minute one too. And
you know me.
Yep. You always support. I appreciate it. Super appreciate it. Let everybody know where they can find you and how they can support the dance studio, all of that.
All right, so you can find me on IG, Southsyde Mel. Same thing on Twitter. Actually, I got to get the Twitter popping even more because I'm not a Twitter dude. My daughter's a Twitter person. I got to get counsel from her.
Listen, on Twitter, I have been on Twitter for about a month and a half, and I love it.
Right. But my TikTok game is getting crazy. That's all I'm going with that. But Alpha Male Music, that's the main cog right now that's going to push everything. So new music is coming. Doc was actually in the studio on Saturday. We recorded some new music, so we got new music coming soon. The merch is coming soon. So Alpha Male Music on IG. Check that out. Also, download Legacy if you haven't already. Also, Dream Dance Envy. That's my fiance, soon to be wife. We're getting married August 14th.
Yay. Oh, that's next month.
So Dream Dance Envy is so she's, anybody, local, you got kids. She's actually doing a summer program right now, for the little kids and adults as well. She's got heels classes, mommy and kid, because I want to say mommy daughter, mommy son, classes that you can take, so that, y'all can both dance or whatever. So we're doing it up. We're doing a lot.
Nice. I love it. I love it. Love it. Well, make sure you guys follow and support and check the music out. Don't forget to tune in every Thursday and whatever other day I drop these episodes too, because I've been dropping them all over the place. But definitely on Thursdays, new episodes drop. Make sure you tell your friends, tell their friends, and maybe we could be friends. Tune in every Thursday. Thanks.
Every Thursday.